Take a walk on the weird side, it goes bump in the night. Take a walk on the weird side, you can't trust the living, you can't kill the dead, you can't stop the voices inside your head. You can't run, you can't hide. Take a walk on the weird side.
Well, welcome back, weirdos.
Welcome back, everybody.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Taylor.
And together we are Weird Side Podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming back for our second official episode. It's been quite an adventure between last episode and now. So much has gone on in our lives and the world in general.
I'm amazed they came back after all that weird stuff we talked about the first time.
I know.
Robert and necrophilia and haunted dolls. I mean, I think we started pretty powerful.
Yeah, we sure did. I think those were strong topics to start off with. And also probably some of our more knowledgeable ones, for sure.
I'm glad you're back, like a cousin we haven't seen in a year. It's good to see you again.
At the family reunion. Good to see you again, cuz.
Glad you're back. Just stay a little bit longer this time, please.
So, today we are going to be talking about Eerie Islands. This will probably be a multiple episode throughout our podcast series type of thing. But
it's so weird that just islands themselves just have a lot of weird stuff going on in them. And
yeah.
I mean, our topics today have various things in them, but most of them they just seem to be so desolate and destructive. I've noticed after looking out after all this stuff. And
quite dangerous.
Oh, very dangerous.
Yes.
I don't know why. Gilligan must have really had a hard time when he was on his island.
Or Gullah Gullah Island.
What's that from? I don't know that.
You don't remember Gullah Gullah Island?
No.
It was a TV show when we were kids, but I always forget I'm a couple years older than you.
I was a SpongeBob guy. I didn't see it.
Gullah Gullah. I can't even remember. I think that Gullah Gullah was on maybe PBS. Maybe.
That might be why I didn't watch it.
Yeah. Hey, whoever's listening, what station played Gullah Gullah Island? Because I know I'm not the only one who remembers that show. Someone please comment and let me know what that played on, because I know it did.
Please do. I've never heard of it.
Well, today we are going to start off, before we dive into our topics, we're going to talk about something going on in our community right now. The event actually happened a little over a week ago, but there is a restaurant in Parisburg called Friends and Family Restaurant, and it tragically burned down in a fire. Thankfully, no one was there when it happened. It was in the early hours of the morning, still nighttime, but I believe the fire was caused by something in the kitchen.
Maybe faulty wiring or something.
On the stove or something like that.
I'm not entirely sure what it was, but that restaurant has been in this community for as long as I can remember, and I've lived here my whole life. And I think everybody can agree that lives where we do, that they have fond memories of this place. And it's really sad that such a pivotal part of our community burned down. So they do have a fundraiser to get it back up and going.
Yes, they do. They have a GoFundMe page, which I will be sure to put the links to in the description of our podcast episode once it's dropped. Yes, like that. I'm so glad that one of the owners of the restaurant put this in there. But you might think like, oh, well, that's horrible that someone's restaurant burned down, but surely they have insurance and they can afford to rebuild it. Well, maybe that's true to a degree, but like one of the family owners had put into the post, like that might be true, but we still don't know what else is going to pop up.
Yeah.
So they do have a GoFundMe page, just as support, as they're coming along this new stage of rebuilding the restaurant and getting it, back to, I don't think you could ever get something back to the way it ever was after something like this.
Yeah, but they're going to try.
They're going to try
shoot to make it bigger and better, but.
Yes, but this restaurant, my best friend Travis, when he comes to visit me, this is like our new spot to go to. And it's just like a mom and pop diner type of place.
Well, I know it's definitely like the place to go before football games on Friday nights. And I'm sure anybody else would agree to that statement. And they have some really good breakfast.
Yep. It's the place to go Sunday mornings with Mama and Papa or after church. But they have all kinds of stuff there, like a wide range of stuff, and it's relatively cheap too.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, we've been thinking about friends and family, and we're going to post the GoFundMe page. So hopefully, if anyone is feeling extra generous, maybe you could donate whatever you can. And if you can't afford to donate, even monetarily, even just sharing the GoFundMe page, I'm sure would help spread awareness and maybe reach somebody who was able to monetarily donate.
A little bit anywhere helps out.
Yeah.
In the long go.
Yeah. So, one bit of good news, though, that's happened since last recording, meaning me and Taylor, were actually guest starred on our friends' podcast called Steak and Sauce.
Derek, the Mr. Steal Your Girl, the one of the funniest men I know, and one hell of a handsome devil, I must say. We just had a pretty fun time on his podcast, just talking about spooky stuff and Jeepers Creepers, and I think it was fun. Antonio, we're going to convince you that paranormal's real. Yeah,
Antonio, you crack me up because you are, I mean, we're going to be honest, you're a skeptic. Antonio is not really a believer in all of these topics that we generally talk about.
I mean, I got to get thrown up in the air and twisted before he's going to believe it. So I guess we're going to have to go do that. Just to say, ha ha, I told you so.
Oh gosh, that was so funny. But yeah, so we'll also post the link to that in our this episode's description in case you somehow missed it by chance or care to give it a watch. It was a really fun time. We had an awesome time talking about our spooky, weird stuff, but also just laughing our butts off.
And I look forward to part 2.
Yes, there will be a future part 2. We did not even... Well, I'd say we probably got maybe half of the content covered that we plan to discuss on that episode.
It's so hard to stay on track with them.
It is so hard. Yeah. And one thing about it, though, me and Taylor both agreed. We walked into their studio, and we literally looked at each other, and we were like, we feel like dollar store trash compared to
we were like Dollar General, and they were like Target. You know, they had like a Starbucks and all this nice stuff, and I was like, God, I feel like white trash.
I know it, white trash. Also, since I just heard it now, Reese just barked. We wanted to make his presence known. So if you guys hear the dogs barking somehow in the microphone or in your headphones, we apologize about that. We don't have a professional studio, so you're probably
just give us some time.
Possibly one day. But yeah, if you guys are listening with headphones on, you're probably going to hear background noise, and we do apologize, but we are just still starting out. And we also are still trying to navigate recording better and yada yada. So thank you for your continued patience with that. Before we dive into, we still want to give another huge thank you to everyone who helped us with our podcast and getting it started. Derek, the host of Steak and Sauce Podcast, who we just talked about. Meredith for designing our logo. She's an amazing creepy artist. Logan for doing the graphic version of her design and giving us our official logo. And my good friend Icarus and Holy for writing our theme song. It is wicked, and I still love listening to it. It's just so accurate to our podcast. So now that we've gotten all that established, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, Eerie Islands. So there's a lot of islands out there and a lot of them, some people haven't even probably heard of, but a lot of these islands are out there are banned or forbidden to go to.
I wouldn't say they were banned, but a lot of the more extreme ones are definitely banned, that I'm sure we'll get to at some point. I know for a fact one of them that we will talk about today is banned.
Yes.
And for good reason.
Very good reason. So the first Eerie Island that we will talk about is Snake Island. It is exactly what it sounds. It is an island that is literally covered with snakes.
Mm-hmm. And not just snakes. One of the most venomous, and I said venomous, not poisonous, because a lot of people seem to get that wrong. Venomous implies that when it is like injected venom into you, such as a spider, a snake, or a scorpion, or an insect sting. Poisonous is indirect being poisoned, like eating a poisonous mushroom or a poison dart frog. I see a lot of top 10s. People are out there going most poisonous animals, and it's all venomous ones. Mm-hmm. Am I showing my nerd a little bit? Probably, but I just had to throw that out there.
I love your nerd. It's cute. Sorry. I love it.
I don't know. I promise I'm not trying to be a smart ass. I might have come across that way, didn't I?
No, I don't think you did. I think you're generally just telling people. Like, even myself, I forget that there's a difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. Now, the snake that lives on this island, I believe, is the golden lancehead.
Yes. Now, before we start talking about the golden lancehead, which is the primary snake on that island.
I'm pretty sure it's the only one, actually.
Was it the only?
I don't remember them I don't remember ever seeing anything about another snake on that island.
Yeah, I think there might be some other ones on there. But anyway, so Snake Island is also called, and I'm probably going to butcher this. I apologize, guys. Ilha da Queimada Grande. Sorry, I tried. It's located off a coast in Brazil. So it's a Brazilian island.
Sao Paulo, Brazil, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
It's 106 acres total around. And it formed around the last ice age. Now, there's rumors that the island got covered in snakes from pirates trying to bury their treasure and then using the snakes to guard that treasure. And just over time, they just populated. People moved away from the island. But I think that's more of just a rumor from what I have researched and learned about the island. It's how it formed from the last ice age. And it's rumored to have around 1 snake per 1 square meter on that island.
Wow.
However, there are some questions against that from other people who have done research on the island. It might be more like 1 snake per 140 square meters instead of like 1 per square meter. But still, either way, that's too close for my personal comfort.
Well, I remember watching a documentary about it, and the documentary people were saying that they would run into a snake every 5 minutes of walking.
Yeah,
but
we did see that.
Keep in mind, when you're walking, that's just a snake that you saw.
Exactly.
Because these snakes blend in very well with the terrain.
Oh, yeah.
So you might have saw one once every 5 minutes, but is that how many you actually saw, like, was around you? No, I'm sure there was more. Probably 2 to 3, maybe even 4.
I know. Side note, I don't think anyone's a good camouflage as predator, as I learned last night.
Yeah,
first time watching that movie.
First time last night. Get
Anyway.
to the chopper. You are one ugly.
That was actually a pretty good movie. But side note, sorry, getting back on track here. There may possibly be 40,000 islands. Wow, 40. Look, I even got that number wrong too. 400,000 snakes on this island. Possibly.
400?
400,000. Possibly. Again, this is kind of just rumored. I'm sure scientists would probably say that number is quite a bit lower.
See, I thought it was like 4,000.
You're thinking of the venomous snake.
Oh.
Yeah. I think there are multiple species of snakes on that island, but that one is the deadliest.
Who cares about the other ones? The one
I
everybody
still don't
cares
want to be
about
around
is
the
one
other
that
ones.
can kill you.
I'd still be too scared, but definitely, yeah. So it is home to the golden lancehead pit viper, aka official scientific term, which I'm probably once again about to butcher, Bothrops insularis. I believe.
That sounded so nice when you said it.
I tried.
Bothrops.
Someone would be like, which country girl is trying to say the name of this snake? I butchered it. It sounds awful. But that's the scientific name. We call it the golden lancehead viper.
I think what's really interesting about this island is the fact that a lot of people don't really think about this, but it's technically, I guess you would consider an invasive species situation. So when you take an animal that's not native to a specific area, like in Florida with the lionfish and the pythons and the anacondas, they don't have natural predators there. So they take food from the actual predators there, and there's nothing to really keep them in check. So on that island, the snake is the only, if not the only predator on that island. So nothing really kills them. And they're abundant, and they kind of make it to the point where you can't live on that island.
Essentially. So the golden lancehead viper is critically endangered. Really, this island is the only place that they really exist at.
Which is weird to say since there's so many there.
I know.
But it's the only place you can find them.
Right. It's all about context. Like, that island is covered in them, but we're talking about a small island out of the whole wide world. And this is the only place that they live. So, yeah, they are considered a critically endangered species of snake. They are light and yellow-brown in appearance, especially on their belly. And there are between 2,000 to 4,000 of these specific snakes on this island. But we watched a documentary on this, and one scientist thinks that actually it's more like 1,500, which is quite a bit
The
lower.
numbers are dwindling, they said that it was.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is what's the word I'm looking for? Eco pirates. People that go to the island illegally.
Yes.
And take the snakes, which is very dangerous.
It is very dangerous because if you were bitten by one of these snakes, you can be dead within 1 hour.
And keep in mind, you're on an island.
You're on an island. Like, you're pretty much going to be dead because...
Unless you bring the anti-venom with you.
Yeah. Mortality rate is 3%. With no treatment, it's 7%. The venom is hemotoxic, meaning that it's toxic to your blood, and it attacks your red blood cells, which carry oxygen throughout your body.
Now, I wonder how much this snake goes for, because obviously they sell it, I'm assuming, on the black market to people. I mean, obviously this snake is endangered, so obviously I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to pay money for it.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay. Back to talking about how dangerous these snakes are, though. Like, you're mentioning how people come onto this island to try to steal these snakes for money. Mm-hmm. Yes, and we're going to get more into that. But to me, I get it. Like, some people will do crazy things for money. But this snake is so deadly. Like, to me, it's not worth it. We talked about the mortality rate. We talked about how long you have to live after you're bitten. If you are bitten, you're obviously going to be in pain. You're going to have some internal bleeding, necrosis of your muscle tissue, meaning death of your muscle tissue. And let me tell you, as a nurse, folks, necrotic tissue is disgusting. Yeah. It's black, it's dead, and there's no coming back from it. You can possibly hemorrhage in your brain. You can have intestinal bleeding and kidney failure. So these are all things that will pretty quickly kill you.
Yeah. Well, an hour, that's pretty quick.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier too, I think, but these snakes' source of food are birds. And that's pretty much it. Like,
there has to be a lot of birds landing on that island.
I mean,
there has to be. If there's over like 2,000 or 4,000 of them,
right,
they have to have a stable diet.
So apparently their venom has evolved to be extra potent specifically to kill these birds. And that's because birds is their only source of food.
I bet they try to fly away. I bet it's
supposed
to kill them extremely quickly.
You know what this reminds me of? Like, I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but if this is true, that their venom has evolved to, like, kill these birds more efficiently, it reminds me kind of how when a mother produces milk for her baby, her breast milk is designed to specifically meet all the needs of her baby. Mm-hmm. So if her baby has something that he or she is lacking on, the breast milk will make up for that.
Well, that's just nature.
Or help with.
I mean, nature.
Yeah, it's nature.
Nature just designs animals over time to, like, adapt perfectly for what they need.
Yeah, and to me, that's crazy. Like, and I don't know. I'm not going to go into the whole religion aspect of it, but to me, I don't think that's any coincidence at all. And I just think that's truly fascinating. But anyway, this island, having said how deadly they are, is close to the public for the safety, not only for the humans, but because of the snakes too. Mm-hmm. Only the Brazilian government can visit. They come annually for maintenance of a lighthouse that was built there in 1909.
And there was a family that lived on that island.
Yes, there used to be. And supposedly, so there's rumors that this family, that the owners of the lighthouse, the next day, like, I guess whenever they installed this lighthouse, like the next day, they were found dead with snake bites all over them.
Well, I mean, I'm sure those snakes get into the lighthouse.
Oh, they do. We saw in that documentary, like, when they changed the battery out of that lighthouse, there was one snake hiding just right underneath the battery.
I mean, that's just in general. I mean, snakes get in everywhere. I mean, you've seen in Australia when they'll come up through your toilet? I mean, they'll get, if they want to get in, they'll get in.
I'm just convinced all the more. I know that you really do love me because you're going to Australia with me this August.
Yeah, she's dragging me to Australia, people. The most dangerous place in the world. Yes, let's go to Australia.
That was his main argument when I was like, Taylor, I'd love to go. I want to go on a cruise in Australia. You were like, no. Do you know how many things can kill you over there? And yeah.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. But anyway, sorry. Back to the topic. I actually even heard that when the government goes to this island, that it is required for a doctor to go with them.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is.
Just
in
case
brings
someone's
the anti-venom too.
Yeah, just in case someone is bitten.
Speaking of which, do you know how expensive anti-venom is?
I'm sure it's
It's don't quote me on this.
Quadruple digits?
Don't quote me on this. Somewhere between like $50,000 to like $100,000. Oh. Don't quote me on that. I am 100% could be wrong, but I thought I saw somewhere where somebody had to get like 4 vials of it when they were bitten by like a diamondback, and I think each one was like $50,000 ish.
That's crazy to me. That's kind of like the whole concept with the EpiPen.
Well, the difference is the antivenom's hard to make.
And that is very true. But like, even though the antivenom and an EpiPen are they're two different things, but like both are life-saving. And then ironically, they come with a heavy price tag.
I feel like EpiPens are easier to make than antivenom though. Right?
Yeah, because EpiPens are just epinephrine.
Yeah.
So if you go into anaphylaxis, boom, you get that shot and you're good. Yeah. But yeah, antivenom, that requires probably years of researching and having a limited amount of ingredients to make it.
Because they have to make it out of snake venom.
Right. And speaking of that, I was researching this a little bit and I kind of was confused, and I didn't know maybe if you knew what it was talking about. But so we mentioned that some criminals come onto this island to smuggle the snakes, and that is a large part because of the benefits of the venom. Apparently, their venom, and as they're researching and studying these snakes, the venom from these golden head vipers can help with heart disease, circulation, and blood clots.
Really?
Yeah, like but see, that's what's confusing to me. Like, how can, so if it can kill you, but then also it can help you? Maybe it's one of those things where, like, in a maybe like...
Well, I mean, that's technically, you could use that with anything because, like, any medicine out there helps you, but too much of one thing can kill you.
Maybe it's kind of like
it is.
fentanyl. Like, people use fentanyl. Doctors prescribe fentanyl for pain control, but, it is so easy to die from fentanyl.
That's with anything. I mean, just because something's bad doesn't mean you can't turn it into something good.
Yeah.
Is it weird? Yeah, but is it outlandish? No, I don't think it is. I think that's pretty normal, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was reading, I'm like, all I got the impression was deadly, 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 can kill you, deadly, and well, it can't help with this, and this. I'm like, what? It's crazy.
I'm sure they took them years to figure that out with research and stuff.
Oh yeah. But apparently, the payout for these snakes for the smugglers is anywhere between $10,000 to $30,000 per snake.
And they can kill you in an hour. I don't know if that's worth it.
That's what I'm saying. Is your life really worth $10,000 to $30,000?
Like, I really don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'm sure, they find their way, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, either way, we watched a documentary, which was really good, by the way. About 30 minutes long, but it was, I guess this guy got permission from the Brazilian government to go with them on their annual lighthouse maintenance visit.
And he hated
it. He was curious to see what it was like, and he went, and he did not like it.
I do have to say, like, it's a beautiful island.
It is
I recommend
beautiful.
anyone look it up. Like, it's beautiful there, and it's so weird to think that it's one of the most deadly places on Earth. But nature is beautiful, but it's also dangerous, though.
Yeah, which,
And then they camped out there.
Yeah, they camped out there one night, and I'm like, y'all are freaking crazy. Whoops, there went my water. That, to me...
H2O.
I couldn't believe they spent the night there. I don't even know why did they?
They had to do research. They had to, like, study the length and like what the weight of the snakes were, I guess, for like how they grow, and probably get some anti-venom while they were there, take some venom so they could make some more. I'm not really sure.
And you notice too, like I don't have too many experiences with holding snakes, but every time I think of like how they curl back, like all it would take is for them to curl back one good time. Remember like in Jackass 2 with Johnny Knox, and he went in the viper pit with the ball pit, and then he picked up the anaconda ball pit. So not viper, it's anaconda ball pit. And he picked that snake up, and it curled around.
But that's because he didn't grab it close enough to the head. If you can get a hold of their close enough to their head that can't turn around to bite you, that's because he just didn't grab it.
Gosh.
See, those snakes, I think anacondas are way more scary than vipers, in my honest opinion. Because, getting bit by these vipers, you die in an hour. And I'm sure it's a painful, awful process. But anacondas being squeezed to death, and then they can swallow you whole.
Oh, that is
so weird.
Yeah, no, Yeah, either way, besides the fact that no one is supposed to be on this island except the Brazilian government, I don't think we will be taking a trip to Snake Island.
Even if they did open it, I couldn't. Like, I'm not even scared of snakes.
See, my mom, I don't know if you knew this about my mom, but she is terrified of.
Really?
She literally, if she sees a snake on the other side of the road, it will take her like 5 minutes straight to cross the road. She thinks like it's just going to slither and get her. Like, she just has a fear of snakes.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know, but that's just her fear. And
Well, people are the same way with spiders, and I love spiders. So.
I hate spiders, but
They're so cute.
I think I hate cockroaches more.
See, cockroaches are disgusting. Spiders are so helpful to the ecosystem. Like, they're awesome.
Speaking of cockroaches, remember when we watched that documentary?
Yeah.
Okay, so the night that they spent on that island with all these snakes, they're also at night, all of these nasty, big, thick cockroaches on this island. I don't even know where they came from because during the day it didn't really show it that much.
Hannah 101 does not like cockroaches.
I do not.
Absolutely despises them.
I hate cockroaches. They make me it makes me cringe just talking about them.
I love how that. I bet that's the reason you wouldn't stay on there. Not even for the snakes. It's because of the cockroaches.
That's what I said. I
isn't
said,
it?
screw the snakes. What about the cockroach? I ain't staying because of the cockroaches. But yeah, Snake Island. If you are interested in learning more about it, I highly recommend typing it in on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the guy who uploaded that video, but it's about half an hour long, and the logo on it was, I think, Vice, Vice.
Yeah, it was Vice.
Yeah, it's really good. So, anyway, Snake Island, the first island mentioned in our Eerie Island series.
Also, it is. I think you did say it. It is banned. So
yeah, it's banned. Please don't try to go to Snake Island.
Banned. You cannot go there legally.
You legally cannot go there. And also, just for the fear of your life. Also, it really is banned. So unless you want to get into some trouble with the Brazilian government, don't go try to visit Snake Island.
Yeah. What's our next island we're going to talk about?
Our next islands.
Oh, islands.
Yes,
Plural.
are the Coconut Crab Islands.
Oh.
So I'm going to start with the first Coconut Crab Island. Is the most probably well-known island with the whole association with coconut crabs. And I'm going to probably butcher the name of this island. Okay. All right. I'm taking a breath to try to say it.
There's a little bit. If you pronounce it wrong, there's going to be some judgment here.
There's going to be. Okay. Nikumaroro Atoll/Island.
Not bad.
Nikumaroro. Nikumaroro.
Nikumaroro.
I think that is how you say it. But I'm going to get to this in a second, but I just call the island Amelia Earhart Island.
That hasn't been proven yet.
It's not proven. It's a theory.
It's a theory.
I'll get to that in just a minute, though.
We'll get to that. No, I think what we need to talk about first is why they call it Coconut Crab Island.
Yeah, I will get to that. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the stats on the island. Okay. So it's another tiny island. I think it's smaller than Snake Island, but it's 4.7 by 1.6 miles total. It's pretty small.
Not too big.
It's 1,000 miles from Fiji, and it's located between Australia
Of course it is.
and Hawaii. It is a coral reef island.
Ooh.
Yes, it's actually also part of the Phoenix Islands protected area.
What's that mean?
I think it's more of I think it's something to do with an economical protection type of thing. I think maybe for the coral, or maybe because of the crabs. I don't know. But it is home to the coconut crab, which is the largest land crab.
If anybody has never seen these motherfuckers,
oh
my
boy.
God.
So the coconut crab is considered, just like the golden head viper, an endangered species. They are found in tropical Indo-Pacific islands, meaning kind of like the countries I mentioned earlier, kind of over in that area. I know that you're going to know this because you're a nerd. Love you. But they're considered arthropods. What do you think about that?
I automatically know what that is. Well, you're right.
It's kind of like when...
Arthropods are things such as like shrimp, crabs, lobsters. I could be wrong about all these. I might even be wrong.
No, I think you're right.
Not sea urchins. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called. They live in the ocean. Basically, sea insects is what I would call them. I think that's what most people. I think they're close to insects, but not exactly.
Yeah.
These crabs.
These crabs are freaking huge. So
They're freaking huge. Now, have you seen the picture of the one, and it's on someone's trash
On the trash can.
Now, like a trash can you put outside on the curb.
it takes up almost the whole
It
trash
takes
can.
up, it's not as big as a trash can, but
It's not
almost
as big as a trash
long.
can. It is between 8.8 to 9 pounds, and it's 3 feet across.
3 feet across.
3
now,
feet.
There are bigger crabs out there, like the Japanese spider crab. You ever seen those things?
No.
Now, they live, I think they live at either in the Mariana Trench, maybe. I can't remember exactly where they live. They're down very low in the ocean, and they are ginormous. Like their legs are like 6 feet long.
I think that would be a good future episode. Is the Mariana Trench?
Definitely.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I love watching videos at night
Of all
and
the
on YouTube
sea creatures
about
down
Mariana
there.
Trench. We'll get there one day.
Creepy.
Now, these crabs.
Yeah, these crabs can carry up to 6 times their own weight.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I'm thinking of comparisons. Ants can carry. I don't know what the number is, but ants can carry so much more than their own body weight, and you wouldn't think that about a tiny little bug, teeny tiny, but
Nature is
nature
amazing.
is amazing. And again, I just don't think it's any coincidence. But anyway,
What's really cool about these crabs? Now, they call them coconut crabs because obviously
so
they do eat the coconuts.
Yes.
On the island.
So supposedly their claws are so strong that they can break a coconut. So these crabs can also climb trees.
Well, they'd have to be to get to the
Yeah, they'd
coconuts.
have to get the coconut. But there have been reports that they have climbed as high as 33 feet. They come back down by dropping. So, like, they climb up the tree, and then they just drop. That's how they come back down. And they can survive a fall of at least 15 feet. Free falling. Free falling. But anyway, they could survive at least 15 feet without getting hurt.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's probably because of their shell.
Yeah, that very well could be.
That exoskeleton that they have is very strong.
That just kind of cracks me up, though. Can you imagine putting all this effort into climbing? I'm just saying, screw it. I'm not climbing down. Let me just drop.
Someone's going to drop. They obviously their main source of food is the coconuts on the island, which they eat the innards of. But they
Yes.
they are herbivores because they eat the coconuts, but they also eat meat, whatever they can get their hands on.
So
seagulls. Now their sense of smell is
I was getting ready to say that.
Incredibly strong.
They have an excellent sense of smell.
So when a crab goes into a tree and finds a resting seagull and it breaks it, the first thing it does is breaks its wings with its claws.
Yeah, like
That
just tears it
obviously
apart.
draws blood. Mm-hmm. Apparently, all the other crabs within miles of the place will start heading that way because they can smell it, and they'll start coming for it. And they've been known to eat whatever they can get their hands on. Unfortunately,
Which leads us into
pets that live on the island are not safe. Seagulls, I think, are
well, no one
probably
lives
the most.
on this island, but yeah, you're right though. There have been birds are the primary other thing.
I heard a story about a cat.
I did too, but I didn't know if I was just getting confused.
I'm sure people live on this island. It's not banned.
I thought it was.
Obviously, if they have trash cans on the island, somebody has to be there.
Yeah, but this island in particular is not the only island with coconut crabs.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just talking about the crabs in general.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, you were,
wherever
weren't you?
they live.
Excuse me, sorry. Just making assumptions. This island nobody lives on, but these crabs are not the only island that they live on.
Yeah, let's just talk about the crabs.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Sorry to get you confused, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So they'll eat whatever they can get their hands on.
Which leads us into the conspiracy. So there's been reports that they also have a taste for dead humans.
Well, do you blame them?
So humans are their only predator.
See, no, we don't eat them. I don't think so. I think they're poisonous.
I mean,
if
I
we
wouldn't eat them.
I'm pretty sure. I think they're something in their either skin or something in there's toxic, and we don't eat them.
See, I didn't read anything like that on there.
I could have swore I saw something about that. That's why we don't eat them.
Well, either way, I don't want to be near one personally, but
I kind of do.
But there have been reports, like you said, though, small animals and birds, but they've also eaten pigs, which I'm going to talk about a study here in just a minute, but it's also rumored that they have eaten other corpses of dead coconut crabs, even their own exoskeletons, which is another word for their shells. But there's a rumor that dead human is another thing that they go after.
There is a theory out there I don't think it's been proven yet. I think
It's
they're
definitely
working
not.
on it.
So let me just dive into the Amelia Earhart theory. Okay, so for those of you who don't know or have never heard of her, Amelia Earhart is a female pilot who was like the first woman to fly airplanes or helicopter. What's the correct term? Planes.
I don't know if she was one of the first, but I think she was one of the first professional
ones.
I think she flew over either the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean by herself. If I could be wrong, it's been a while since I learned.
I know. I should have touched up a
elementary
little
school.
bit better, but this was back in like what, the 1920s.
20s to 30. 30. Well, hold on. Flight was invented in the 20s, so I think this is 30s.
Then
40s.
30s. Okay.
So she was one of the first to do either the Atlantic or the Pacific. I can't remember. But she went missing because she was going to do around the world. Mm-hmm. And she went missing at some point. Now, there's a theory.
Right. So she flew out of New Guinea in July of 1937. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then, yeah, it would be the 30s.
Yeah.
In attempts to travel the world via airplane. Her intended destination was Howland Island. It's somewhere near Nikumaroro Island, which is approximately about 400 miles away from her destination. Mm-hmm. This island that we're talking about. But she never made it. So she's believed to have gotten onto the island from a plane crash. I don't know if there was a malfunction with the plane. I don't know if she ran out of gas. I don't know what happened.
I think they had scheduled gas refuels, but she might have went down at some point.
She went, yeah.
Obviously.
She never made it to her destination. And so there's some conspiracies that she got on this island from the plane crash and she was either dead or seriously injured. One of the two.
Coconut crabs found her.
The crab, and there's rumors and theories that the crab found her.
I think they might find a skeleton on
the
the
researchers found a fractured skeleton on the island, stated to be torn apart limb from limb. Around the remains, they found a women's shoe, airplane pieces, cosmetics. Side note, I've seen somewhere else that this cosmetic was supposed to be a freckle cream, and that's important because Amelia Earhart used a freckle cream.
She had freckles?
She had freckles. I think she was a ginger.
Huh.
Yeah. Huh. But they also found other navigation items too. Mm-hmm. So you found human remains and all these other objects around it. I mean, if you put two and two together,
it's possible.
Kind of seems like it might have been Amelia Earhart.
It could have been. I mean, it might have just been, well, even if it's not, it proves that they'll eat whatever they can get their hands on.
So in 2007, there was a study that scientists did where they placed a pig carcass in that area where the remains were found. The crabs crawled out. I think this happened at night. The crabs crawled out from the ground and tore that carcass to shreds. And then they took the leftovers and drug them back down underneath the ground. And they ate the flesh. I don't think they ate the bones. I think they ate the flesh. And ultimately, though, the testing of the remains that they found originally were inconclusive, and scientists no longer have access to them for further DNA testing. So, hence why it's a conspiracy. Was it Amelia Earhart, or was it not?
It's possible.
I'm going to be honest. I believe this one. I really do think so.
Could be.
Yep. Remember, I actually made a TikTok when I first got TikTok. That was one of the first.
She found a picture of Amelia Earhart in a mall. It was like, sorry, you gotta eat my coconut crabs.
I made that one, and then I made a meme. I was like, I'm going to hell for this, but I took some pictures of Amelia Earhart and put the crab rave with it, with the coconut crab. I know. It probably seems really disrespectful, but
you gotta have a laugh.
Jokes aside from it, though, that if that really did happen, that is an awful way to go.
I hope she wasn't alive. Like,
I hope she was dead already.
Can you imagine, like, not only crashing in a plane? I'm sure she wasn't the only one. I think there was somebody in the plane.
I think so, but I didn't really hear too much about him.
If she did live that crash, and you're like, I'm sure she had to have some broken bones, some other stuff.
Oh, yes. She'd be seriously injured, probably close to death.
Like, you're literally like crawling, and you look up, and you see a 3-foot long crab, and like multiple. Yeah. And they just start ripping.
A horrible way to go.
That's gotta be an awful way to go.
That's like out of a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's just frightening. But, guys, yeah, definitely. There's actually another island I'm going to talk about, too, pertaining to the coconut crab. But y'all really need to look up.
A picture
if you're interested in this island in theory. Again, I've already said the name of the island, Nikumaroro, but I just call it the Amelia Earhart.
That sounds like a wonderful name for a song.
Nikumaroro. Really, I think so too. But I just call it the Amelia Earhart Island. But if you're interested, definitely look up some. I think, again, Kendall Ray, I believe, does a video on this, and I'm always going to reference her because she's amazing. She does a great job of going over.
Awesome, Kendall. I'll just have to say it.
She is awesome. She goes over all these. She's done a lot of conspiracy videos and a lot of true crime, and she is not biased in her. She goes over like the whole thing. So, yeah, you'd find out a lot more information if you went online and specifically looked for her video. But anyway. There's another island. Hopefully I'm going to say this right. I don't think it's as hard to say as the other one, but Makatea Island. It's part of the Tuamotu Archipelago, Polynesia. So this, I think, is nearby, but it's 4.5 miles across total. And people actually do live on this island. Not very many, but some do. Oh, that was a Roxy bark. Anyway. Roxy just barked in the background. She is our daughter, our fur daughter. From 1908 to 1966, the purpose of this island was to export sand. And the sand was rich in phosphate, and they used it for agricultural purposes, pharmaceuticals, and weapons. So that's primarily the purpose of that island from that time frame. And it was also a mining area.
What did they mine?
I don't have the first clue. I'm not sure. And I probably should know that, but I don't know. But I've seen like pictures of this island, and the article that I read about this, the pictures on it were, and I need to link this in the description because the pictures on it were just phenomenal. Very, very well documented.
Why is it the dangerous islands are pretty?
I don't know. I've noticed that too. But at that time, though, the population was around 3,000 people, but now only about 80 people live on this island. And that's a huge difference.
Do you think their Tinder down there is working pretty well with 80 people?
I would say probably not.
You can only swipe left a few times.
I know. But coconut crabs also live on this island, and they are called, from natives on that island, kavu. That's what they call coconut crabs over there. Kavu. Yeah. So people on this island actually hunt the crabs for income. Because they're hunted from these people, their conservation status is a little unclear. But it doesn't seem like a lot of money at all, but to them it's their only source of income. But
what would you sell them for?
I don't know, but 5 average size crabs can earn you around $50, or in other words, $10 a piece for an average size coconut crab. I don't know why someone would sell a coconut crab. I don't even know why someone would want to get near a coconut crab. I don't know, but this island is also another one that is known to have coconut crabs on it. And how humans could live on the same island as these coconut crabs, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea. I guess, like, because I think these crabs come out at night, like normal crabs. You know,
I'm pretty sure they're nocturnal.
Yeah, because when you go to the beach, and I even get scared of crabs on the beach, but if you go on the beach, you don't really see crabs come out until the nighttime when you're taking a walk on the beach. They'll come out from underneath the sand. And I think it's the same case with these coconut crabs. But I guess, like, if you lived there, you would have to just stay indoors at nighttime. I mean, that's what I would do. I would not go outside after a certain amount.
Maybe they don't. I don't know.
Yeah, a certain amount of time. I don't know. But yeah, this is an example of one where they actually coexist together. But y'all really need to Google coconut crab. And you'll probably, one of the first results will probably be the picture with the crab on the trash can. And it's just mind-blowing. So anyway, yes, so those were our first couple islands that we mentioned now. And now we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back momentarily.
Take a walk on the weird side.
Do you like supporting local businesses?
No, I do.
I do too. And with that being said, we have 2 local businesses that we'd like to promote on our podcast.
Is it time for a product plug?
Yes, it is. I'm so glad you asked.
What are we doing?
Our first business that we'd like to give a shout out to is Grace Upon Grace Creations.
Grace on Grace product plug.
Grace Upon Grace is a business that my coworkers Morgan and Olivia started. They're basically like an at-home boutique, and they are awesome. I love their products. I love their business, and I just love, had the honor to see them grow since they first started their business and to where they are today. They make things like stuff you're not going to find in the everyday store. Their most latest product that they've been working on is their clothing line. They make sweaters, long sleeve, short sleeve, t-shirts, slippers even. They have really
they have my size though.
I'm so glad you asked because they carry sizes small through 4XL.
Are you kidding me?
I am dead serious. And I am so glad to see that. And they do keep well stocked in the plus size clothing. So glad to see that because that's usually the problem. Plus size women cannot find the clothing that they need readily available. I mean, they can, but you have to special order or...
That's annoying.
Yeah, or, they just don't have it, period. But no, Grace Upon Grace has all beautiful bodies covered. They have the cutest t-shirts, sweaters, long sleeve shirts. The slogans on them are so adorable. I even saw a couple of skull designs on them.
And we love skulls.
Yeah, on a couple of them, and they were cute. But they have seasonal shirts that they came out with. So the most recent one would be Easter. And I saw a couple of them they're so cute. There's one that says Honey Bunny on it. It's just so adorable. But my favorite Easter shirt that I saw that they posted, it made me think of one of my favorite movies, Pulp Fiction. It says on the shirt, "Be cool, honey bunny." And that makes me think of that scene in the diner when the couple's trying to rob the diner. But
Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta have their guns out.
Yeah. And the girl's like freaking out because she thinks her husband's going to be killed. And Samuel L. Jackson's like, "Tell her to be cool." He goes, "Be cool, honey bunny." And she's
okay.
she's like all hysterical, but I loved it. So I thought that was cool. I've never seen a shirt that says that on it. And if there is one out there, I've never seen it. They have a lot of lifestyle quotes on their shirts. So like mom life or wifey, pet, dog mom, stuff like that. It's really cool and very personable. A couple of slogans that I've seen on their shirts that I really liked. One I thought was hilarious. It says "low-key bougie" on it. I love that. Like you were saying earlier, only for food though. So
I'm only bougie for food.
Yep. So we came up with a new slogan. If they want to use it, just saying, you can use it. Just shout out Weird Side Podcast on the side. But we got one: bougie for foodie.
Bougie for foodie.
I love that. There was another one that I liked that said "Love Like Jesus." That's something we should all go by. I love that.
WWJD.
They have one that says "Overstimulated Moms Club," and I'm sure a lot of moms feel that way.
They have a lot of cool shirts.
Yeah, and my favorite mom shirt that they have, which I'm only a dog mom right now, but if I have the privilege of being a mom, hopefully carry your babies for you one day.
One day.
I'm
ready, woman.
I'm going to buy this shirt, and it's going to say "freestyling this whole mom thing." So I love it. They have something for everybody there. That's just their clothing line, though. They've been working on car coasters, and they even have car freshies, which we've talked about before.
Monkey farts.
They have the list of scents they have is almost endless. And they have one scent on there. We talked about it last time, but it's so funny. It's called Monkey Farts, and I hear it smells good, but I've never smelled it myself.
Do you think it smells like bananas?
I bet it does. I don't know, but it's so funny. We have tried the fresh linen and the cold brew coffee freshly brewed coffee smell, and both of them smell amazing. They also make tumblers, snow globe tumblers. And those are also really cute. They get little slogans on there and they glitterize it, and they look amazing. But
so you're telling me I can still have my tumbler and look fabulous?
Yes, absolutely. While you're sipping your cold brew from Sugar and Flour, which we're getting ready to shout out to next.
Product plug.
But if you decide that it is time to treat yourself and you want something from Grace Upon Grace or something just cute for you, if you go to Grace Upon Grace, look through their products, and you find something you like, and you place your order to them, if you use the promo code WEIRDSIDE, they will give you 15% off your order. Now that is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so
you're telling me I can look fleek and get a discount?
You said fleek. Yes, absolutely you can.
Well, what if I'm thirsty and I want to do that?
You can go to Sugar and Flour, which we'll talk about in just a second.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I thought that was really cool that they were willing to work with us on that. And it's perfect. So if you want to go and splurge on yourself, and you don't have to feel bad about it, because not only are you supporting a local business, you are also getting a discount as well if you use Weird Side.
That's 2 bonuses.
That is 2 bonuses. So yeah, check them out. Grace Upon Grace Creations. I will put their link in our description on the episode. If you find something you like, send them a Facebook message for your order and use the word Weird Side for 15% off. Our next business that we will be giving a shout out to is Sugar and Flour, located in downtown Parisburg. Sugar and Flour is a bakery and coffee shop, and it is amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes. I know the woman who owns the shop, and she just is such a nice person. I used to work with her when I was a home health aide, and even back then she would bring in baked goodies that she's made, and everyone would look forward to them because they're just so delicious. And she's always had a dream to have her own shop, and I'm just so proud of her to see her reach that goal and dream.
So she's living her dream now.
Yeah, and just see her flourish and thrive. And one thing I love about Sugar and Flour is that she also promotes other businesses too around our community. It's like, she's reached this success and she's doing amazing, but she still hasn't forgotten about those other local businesses too. So she does, from time to time, she'll do a raffle. So like if you go into Sugar and Flour and you buy your little salty cold brew, you can put your raffle ticket into a winning for a gift card for other local businesses around town, or even for a Sugar and Flour gift card or Sugar and Flour apparel. It's just awesome stuff, and I really admire her for doing that. She also has events that she does throughout. I mean, it's not on a weekly basis, but it's pretty often. Like this week was Read Across America week. So on Tuesday, it was Thing 1 and Thing 2 Tuesday. So she had a buy one, get one free tea. And then Wednesday was Wacky Wednesday, which was 10% off her white chocolate mocha. Friday was Redfish Bluefish. She had 15% off her spicy avocado toast, which I have not tried yet.
I haven't tried that yet either.
Sounds like, I'm not real crazy over avocado, but I would still try it.
I'm not.
I'd still try it though. But, and then today, Saturday, was Sam I Am Saturday. So today, we actually went to the Sugar and Flour and got some breakfast and some goodies. But she had story time at 10 o'clock, and then she had crafts at 10:30, which, that being said, Sugar and Flour is a very kid-friendly place, and I also admire her and respect her for that, because people feel comfortable bringing, it's like, you don't see very many people bringing their kids into Starbucks, because Starbucks has that kind of vibe where adults are going in there, they're drinking their coffee and they're studying. But Sugar and Flour, while they do have people who go in like that, she didn't forget about the kids either. So she's got like a little kitchenette in her shop, like a little kid area where they can play and stuff for them to do. And I love that. I mean, with that being in mind though, it still is a coffee shop. So, it's not completely kid themed, but it is kid friendly. She does have
things for them to do.
Yeah, she does things for them too, and I love that about her.
She also has some nice little treats for kids as well, like the little juice pouches and stuff. So
yeah,
your kid can get something.
Yeah. So her menu, she had on her drinks, she has teas, coffees, both hot and cold brews, and she has frappes, hot chocolate. For food, she has weekly breakfast items, and some are daily, but. For example, this morning me and Taylor got the bacon, egg, and cheese Gouda croissant, and so good. So good. And today, since it was her themed week for basically Dr. Seuss themed, she had green eggs and ham breakfast with biscuits and gravy. I just thought it was so cute.
Do you think that tasted good?
I didn't try it, but I have no doubt that it did.
I hope it did.
Yeah, me too. I just thought that was really cool. She did that. But she also has events and catering. So if you want to throw a party and show off all your Grace Upon Grace Foundation and Creations gifts, you could hit Sam up at Sugar and Flour and rent out her room. She's got it's a large enough space, and she's also got a photo prop area where the really pretty backgrounds, so you can get professional looking pictures done as you sip your Sugar and Flour cold brew, showing off your Grace Upon Grace Creations little goodies that you got.
Little goodies.
Yeah. But Sugar and Flour is open on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And her store hours are listed on her Facebook page, as well as her daily menu items and her weekly menu items. I will also post the link for her Facebook page below in our episode description. Well, we hope you enjoyed listening about these local businesses.
Product plug.
Hope that you give them a check out. And without further ado, we will get back to our show.
Take a walk on the weird side.
Are you sure you're ready?
I'm HBO positive.
Welcome back to Weird Side Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody.
I was trying to catch him in the middle of saying something sassy, but I think he caught on that I was
Because
recording.
I'm sassy with that fat assy.
No, I just had to tease this cutie over here because we realized that partially through the first part of the episode, he started to echo really bad.
It's because I'd have to like stretch and I'd lean back a little bit because I'm tall.
So
I have to lean down for my mic. And
oh my gosh, I literally said, just talking it like a normal person. He's like, this is normal. But I do constantly forget that you're 6'3" and so much taller than me. And most stuff is designed for shorties like me.
Is that why you're shoving me on an airplane to go to Australia in a very small, confined space for
Hey, if I could
15 hours?
if I could afford first class, I definitely would get us the first class.
I know you would.
But I personally don't have 20 grand to drop, so
That's fair. I'll give you that.
I'll let you put your legs in my lap if you want.
Hopefully, if there's nobody else sitting with us.
You know, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, you know how in the seats it's usually 3 in a per row? Mm-hmm. I really hope we don't get stuck with another person. And it's no offense to that person, but
It is. I don't want you to sit beside me. No offense, but
like we're going to be fidgeting on that plane ride. So
who isn't?
Yeah, that's true. But geez, it would just be amazing if it was just me and you in the row.
That would be amazing.
Oh, I know.
Could share the middle seat.
Yes.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. So, welcome back to Weird Side Podcast. We are now going to be talking about the third Eerie Island.
Eerie Island.
Eerie Island.
And this one, unlike Bikini Bottom that you were just referencing, is got a little bit more of a darker story to it. I know the first two we were talking about had to do with animals, but this one doesn't, by the way. And if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about this episode, Mr. Ballin on YouTube did a wonderful storytelling of this, and it was amazing. So I think he tells stories probably a little bit better than I would.
He's a good storyteller.
He is. He's so good.
He is.
He's so good. But I definitely wanted to talk about it because, like, I never knew this story until he pointed it out to me, and it is mind-blowing.
And I didn't know about it until you told me about it.
I know. So our story actually starts in World War II. During the island hopping campaign when America was working their way towards the Japanese mainland. This story takes place on I hope I can pronounce this right because it's a little hard to pronounce too.
It's better than what I said it was.
I gave you shit earlier for pronouncing stuff. This one's hard to pronounce too. Chichi-Jima Island.
Pretty good. I said Neutrogena Island.
Chichi-Jima Island. It's off the coast of the mainland of Japan.
Japan.
And this island was a key part of the Japanese Army communications because they had 2 radio towers on this island. Mm-hmm. And America had to knock that out to get them a serious advantage in the war. So for months, they sent air raids trying to bomb them because a land and sea invasion would be too hard because the Japanese, casualty rates would be extremely high because the Japanese believed the greatest thing to do was to die in battle, and they did not surrender.
You did teach me about that.
They do not surrender.
I didn't know that until you told me.
So they started doing air raids. Well, the Japanese were amazing at repelling those air raids, and they managed to keep those towers intact for a long time. So America was back trying to do another raid. And our story is about a pilot in the Navy, and he was the youngest pilot in the Navy at that time. He was only 20 at the time.
Wow.
And it wasn't his first time. He had done many battles before that. His name was George.
That makes me feel like I was literally nothing at 20 years old. You remember when you're like a teenager and you're like...
We're sitting here at 25 and 27 barely building birdhouses, and these people are literally like,
Shout out, Bo Burnham.
blowing shit up. Woo!
Yeah.
Anyway, so George was tasked to doing this, and he wasn't the only one in his plane. He had, I think it was his radio guy. I think his name was Dell, and his gunner, which name was Ted. So that morning they set off to bomb these 2 towers. And they couldn't just fly straight over there. They had to fly above a certain altitude because the anti-air rifles would hit them by a certain point. I think it was like 6,000, maybe 8,000 feet.
Dude, you'd be dead.
What?
Like if something fell on, like, near you or on you at like 6,000 to 8,000 feet.
No. So the Japanese had guns that could shoot planes down, but they only had a range of about 6,000 to 8,000 feet. So if you were flying above that, they couldn't hit you. So
okay,
it was less accurate.
I just flipped it around in my head, like vice versa. Like,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was less accurate. So what their task was to fly over the island, drop down to 8,000 feet, drop the bomb onto the radio tower, and then hopefully leave unscathed.
Simple enough, right?
Yeah. So
In theory.
they dropped, and immediately they were getting shot at, pretty bad. And all 3 of them noticed that their plane was immediately hit by machine gun fire, but they managed to actually bomb one of the towers, which was a success. So weirdly enough, and this is going to sound even better on George. George had already been shot down before and lived. Okay.
Wow.
So this is his second time. So he
This mofo
knew what to do in that scenario. He has experience. And he learned if you get shot down, you fly as far away from the enemy as you possibly can. Because then they'll
bid
capture
some time.
you.
Yeah.
And probably being captured by the Japanese in World War II would be an awful thing.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
So he knew to fly as long as he possibly could away before his plane was going to crash. And because of that, he actually managed to get away. Unfortunately, I think the other 2 did die in the crash because they didn't jump in time.
Yeah.
But he managed to get away. And weirdly enough, when he crashed, their lifeboat that was on the plane managed to have somehow surfaced, and he got on it.
Wow.
And
was that a coincidence? I don't think so.
With the Americans now coming in more and more, he actually managed to escape getting captured by the Japanese and was rescued. There were other planes that were shot down that day that didn't know that. So when they saw their planes on fire and they did that task, they immediately bailed. And when they, assuming, fell into the water, the Japanese came and got them. Mm-hmm. Now, nobody knew what happened to, I believe there was 8 of them that were scooped up by the Japanese that day. Nobody knew what happened to them. And the government found out what happened to them and covered it up.
Oh.
Because they didn't want, and I don't, honestly, I kind of don't blame them. I kind of don't blame them.
I'm hearing you out.
What happened to these people, and because it would be really hard to tell their families like what truly happened to them. I think it's better to tell them they died honorably than to have to tell them what happened to them, which we'll get into.
Yeah, I was going to say what really happened to him.
The only reason that we know what happened is because there was a reporter that went through some Guam trial transcripts for Japanese soldiers that were charged with war crimes. And he went through it and found out what really happened to them.
This is not going to be good. I can just tell.
So, obviously, the 8 men were scooped up, brought back to the island. Now, I'm not justifying what they did, but think about it from the perspective of a Japanese soldier. Your goal is to win, right? Mm-hmm. You've been on this island. You are constantly getting bombed by the Americans. Do you think they really liked us?
No.
No, they hated our guts.
Right.
So now they have 8 soldiers on their island that have no protection, have nothing whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So one of the commanding officers, I think his name was Tachibana. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I apologize. I think his name was Tachibana. Apparently he had an alcohol problem and some other problems, but he was a commanding officer on that island. And they took one of the guys. I can only remember this guy's name. His name was Marv, I think. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. They tied him to a tree, and he encouraged all of his soldiers to come up and beat Marv all day.
Poor Marv. Damn.
And for all day, I think they went up and they beat him all day. Well, at the end of the night, they untied Marv, and they took him to a grave that they had dug.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd be scared to death just by even that.
And standing beside that grave was a Japanese soldier, and he was holding a sword. a katana. And they asked, I guess which is pretty, I think this is, I mean, I'm not trying to make light of a bad scenario, but this is pretty cool. They let him smoke a final cigarette before what they were going to do. And apparently Marv smoked it very calmly and slowly. Like just,
dude, I would be like
chilling.
Parkinson's disease shaking. I'd be so scared.
Because he knew what was coming.
Like, yeah, you're getting ready to take your last breath.
Mm-hmm. And once he was done, they beheaded him.
Oh my gosh. With that sword?
Put him in that grave.
With that sword?
Yeah, they cut his head off with the sword.
Is this like the same sword? You know how, what's that practice called where it's like a self-form of suicide?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know, but that's more of like a dagger, isn't it?
No, they use the swords.
Is that the same kind of sword?
God, what's the word?
I can't remember what that practice is called.
Oh, it's leaving me right now. I'm sure when we're done, I'm going to remember it.
Of course.
I
But
know.
is that the same kind of sword? Like, what? How big is this sword we're talking about?
It's a decently big sword.
Like, I mean, obviously, sharp enough to behead somebody. Like, first whack.
Yeah. In World War II, when the Japanese were in, I think it was China, when they were invading China, they would line up Chinese people, and they would take turns beheading them to see whose sword was sharper.
Oh, that's so messed up.
Yeah.
That's so messed up.
They're good swords. I wish I could remember what that thing is called.
We'll remember it after we're done recording, people. Of course.
So, Tachibana was a messed up guy. And he decided that he wanted to try some human flesh.
Like cannibal?
Cannibal. Cannibal. So I guess he thought it was like a superstitious thing, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I really don't see the health benefits to it whatsoever. But they went and dug up Marv, and they cooked him up and they ate him.
I've heard of some cultures believing that if you eat a piece of another human, that person always remains with you. But that's more of like a spiritual belief. But these sound maybe, I don't know if that's what that was or just
Do you remember that those people that ate those people and then they were being charged and they like literally thought it made them invincible? Do you remember about that? It was like a cult and they killed these people.
Yeah, I think I do. I can't remember the name of the cult, but I do vaguely remember hearing something.
I don't know exactly the reason why they decided to do it.
I just feel
maybe
like
to
it
make
was
them feel better, superstition. I'm not really sure.
Like, I feel like it was done in a hateful kind of way, though.
Could be. I don't really particularly know.
I
know that they ate him,
mm-hmm.
and apparently they liked it. Mm. So maybe it was a few days later, they took the now 7 remaining captives and took them out to the gun range, and they took one of them and tied him up against a post. And they told their soldiers to practice their bayonet work on him. And they would repeatedly, apparently soldier after soldier would come up and they would work on their bayonet and they would stab him. Mm-hmm. Eventually, he succumbed to his injuries. And they went over and they specifically removed his gallbladder and liver, I think. Why those two things, I'm not sure.
Well, if your liver, I believe, carries your red blood cells. So, mm-hmm. like, I believe it's your liver. So, like, if you you're done. Like, that, I mean, obviously you're going to die regardless.
No, he was already dead.
Oh.
Like, they you know what a bayonet is, right? It's the sharp sword thing that goes on your rifles.
Oh, like where it's, like, kind of tied at the top?
It's tied at the end, and they use it as, like, so if you run out of ammo, and you'd still have a weapon.
You could stab somebody.
And you could stab people.
Okay. Gotcha.
So they went up and they would practice stabbing him over and over again. And obviously,
eventually,
after being stabbed, I don't know how many times, he unfortunately succumbed to his injuries.
And then that's when they went after the gallbladder and liver.
Then they went out and they took his gallbladder and his liver out.
Yeah, you're right. Why those two organs, I don't know.
I'm not really sure. They didn't really... I don't remember seeing anything about Marv, the first guy, what they took off him. I know they ate him. I think it was his thighs. Maybe. I'm not sure. And they went to do it to the next guy, and that next guy obviously watched what happened to that poor guy and said, I'm not going that way.
Dude, you'd be scarred for...
I'm not going that way.
If you lived, you'd be scarred for life.
And he fought them with everything he had, and apparently he wasn't worth the effort, so they cut his head off with a sword. And then removed his gallbladder and liver. Mm-hmm. And over the next few days, they obviously repeated this process.
So how many's left at this point?
After those two, 5. But then they proceeded to do the next thing. To the next of them. And apparently, I'm not sure which one, but one of them got it the worst, which is hard to say because they've all went through a lot of bad things. One of them, they didn't even kill him. They removed parts of his body, went it up, cooked it, ate it, decided they want more, and then went back and took it.
Oh my gosh, that's so sadistic. Oh, that's awful. So this man was alive and getting parts of his body just taken off of him. And then cooked in front of his face. Then he sees other people eat these parts of his body in front of his face. And then he has to suffer and live through this until he dies.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That is torture.
That's awful.
That is terrible.
Awful. And so, obviously, all of them eventually were eaten. And after the war was over, there's the high-ranking, obviously Tachibana, and the high-ranking Japanese soldiers were tried in Guam for war crimes, because that's obviously a no-no. And they were sentenced to death and hung and placed in unmarked graves.
Oh my gosh.
Now, there were also
I feel like that's not even justice.
low-ranking soldiers. Oh, it is. Well, now they're dead.
I mean, like, I feel like if you're going to torture people like that, like a hanging, like, I know, like, sometimes back in the past when people were hanged, it wouldn't kill them right off the bat, but I don't know. I just feel like they should have been something, like, nobody would want to, most people don't want to eat other humans, but something equally as torturous, I feel like should have been done to them. They should have their body
That's
parts
a good point.
cut off.
I'm not really sure. I'm glad they're dead.
Yeah, obviously I am too,
I'm glad they're dead. So the low-ranking officers that didn't really participate, but they either did in a kind of like a bystander way or maybe in like a secondary way were charged, but I think they got 8 years in prison.
Wow.
But like, they weren't the ones that really participated. I think they were the ones that like kind of watched but didn't really
That still
say
holds some level
anything.
of responsibility.
So they had some levels of responsibility.
Yeah.
But they got 8 years in prison.
Wow. So
Now, back to what I said about telling their families. Could you go tell your loved one? Like, it was your job to go tell people, like, hey, your son died in war. And then you have to tell them, by the way, the enemy ate him.
yeah.
Or worse, they ate him while he was alive and kept doing it. Could
Yeah.
you, like, honestly, could you do that?
No, like I mean, part of me would want to know the truth about what happened, but the other part of me, like if it was something that dark, would I really want to know? I might have just be more comfortable with your dad was captured and killed.
That's what
And just leave it
they
at
just
that.
assumed that they were captured and killed,
Yeah.
which technically they were.
I don't know. Like part of me would want to wonder, but I feel like the better choice would be to not know. Because how can you, I don't know. Like if you know something like that happened to someone you loved and can only imagine how tortured they must have been. Like it's hard to just forget about something like that.
Now, here's where the story gets even more crazy. So, George actually lived to find out what really actually happened to all those people, like 60 to 70 years later.
So when you say all those people, do you mean the captured American soldiers?
What his fate would have been if he had not known to eject, not to eject early. Because remember, he didn't eject early. He knew get far away from them. He knew that, and he lived. Can you imagine being George? Like knowing what happened to those guys? Kind of like there would be a little bit of guilt.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I would feel tremendously blessed to have been spared going through that. But yeah, like you would feel guilty too, because you'd be like, well, what's so worthy that I got to avoid that?
Now, here's where the story gets even more crazy.
Spill the tea, girl. Spill the tea.
Because George is George Bush Sr.
What?
The George Bush's dad.
Oh my gosh.
That happened to him.
Dude, are you for real?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
So technically, if he hadn't known that and he had gotten eaten, George Bush 1 and 2 wouldn't have happened.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened.
Oh wow.
So he went to become the president of the United States.
Wow.
I think he found out while he was president what happened to all.
What a comeback that is, though. Like, wow. I never knew that.
The smallest decisions can have the biggest impacts.
It really
especially in something like that, because we wouldn't have 2 of the world leaders that we had.
Oh, yeah.
If he hadn't known that knowledge.
So, back to the topic of war crimes. Like, can you tell me a little bit more about war crimes? Like, what the definition of it is and what they usually entail?
Essentially, I'm going to give you like the simplistic version. There was a kind of like a meeting held that was like set the rules of modern warfare, I guess you could say. Like, pretty much don't attack civilians, don't use chemical weapons, don't be a dick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just like shoot and kill somebody or stab somebody and kill them.
Like attacking civilians is a no-no.
Right.
And using chemical weapons such as like mustard gas, chlorine gas, stuff like that is a no-no. Especially being a cannibal
Definitely.
is a big no-no.
No.
And you're not supposed to do that. And you can be charged and convicted of those things.
So basically, if you're...
Technically in World War, I think it was 1 or 2, I think it was 1. Everybody just kind of threw that out the window, and that was why it was pretty brutal, because they went full on. They used chemical weapons. They did whatever they wanted.
See, that's just scary.
Both bad and good. Germany and America both used those things.
So the reason why they're frowned upon, like just a no-no, is because essentially it could kill innocent people, or because
it's kind of a dick move when you're fighting in a war, and instead of targeting the enemy in front of you, you target civilians that have nothing to do with it.
Right, that is messed up.
It's a dick move.
Well, yeah, it defeats the whole point. So basically, if you're serving and you have to kill somebody, the rule is like if you're going to kill somebody, make it as quick as possible. Basically,
kind of.
Like, don't torture. But that stuff still does happen, though, doesn't it?
It happens.
Just like extra cruel methods and ways is what would be considered a war crime.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
I know. Definitely, cannibalism is definitely. A no-no.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Chemical weapons. Is a big no-no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's just taking it a whole different level. So, as I'm gonna butcher it too, so I'm just gonna say what
Chichi-Jima Island.
Chichi-Jima.
Island. You called it Neutrogena Island the other day.
I did, and I think I'm just going to stick with that. So, Neutrogena Island. No, just kidding. It's really called Chichi-Jima. Chichi-Jima Island. So, what about the island? Do you know why it's forbidden, banned?
I don't think it's forbidden. I think people live there now. I just think
it just has a dark history.
It just has a dark history.
So, yeah, like that's it. Would you really want to live there, like knowing what happened there?
Honestly, like, yeah, because... Think about it. Like, people live near all the oh my God, what's it called, where they did the invasion in France? I'm
terrible at history, so I can't help
you. You would want to live there because it's like it's rich, and like I'm not downplaying what happened, but it's rich in historical significance.
Yeah,
you would want to live there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It has a dark past, obviously.
And that's true. I guess it's fair to say, too, like, no matter where anyone ends up, like, there's always probably going to be some kind of dark history tied to our house. There might even be some kind of dark thing tied to our house.
Where you live, I mean.
Hopefully not, but, I mean, you just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's creepy. It's mind-blowing to me that George Bush, is it Senior, could have potentially
been
eaten. And just think of how different history would have been. That is mind-blowing.
It's always the smallest things that make the biggest impacts.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Eerie Islands Part 1.
I think we're going to do another one.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning of the episode, there are several creepy, forbidden,
there's so many islands
weird
that have
islands.
So much interesting stuff happen on them.
Yeah, so definitely this will be a multiple part series. Not really sure when we'll do the next part, but it will be coming in the future.
Yeah.
As we always say, if you have suggestions for topics within our topic range, please email us and let us know at williamsweirsidepodcast@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. We hope you enjoy, like I said. Thank you again for bearing with us as we navigate our technical aspects of recording the show.
And if you want to dive deeper into these topics today, I recommend Googling some of them or looking up certain things. I know you mentioned Kendall Ray had really good stuff. Mr. Ballin has some really good stuff. If you want to learn more, they are amazing. Because
we just kind of touch like a generalized. They both are YouTube content creators who go into things like very in-depth and in a narrative format type of setting. Mm-hmm. But yes, well, thank you again. for joining us on Weird Side Podcast.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Yes, stay weird, everybody.
Stay weird.
We will see you spooky peeps on the next episode.
And always remember, I'm Taylor.
And I'm Hannah.
And we are
Weird Side Podcast.